Just weeks after speaking out about violence against Christians, a Catholic bishop was shot and killed in his own home. The news has shocked Catholics across Africa and around the world. Bishop Osório Citora Afonso of Mozambique was killed during an attack on his residence in the early hours of June 6th. He was 54 years old. According to local authorities, unidentified gunmen entered the bishop's property and opened fire. The attackers reportedly shot him in the chest. Despite efforts to understand what happened, many questions remain unanswered. Police have launched an investigation, but so far, no arrests have been announced. Officials say they're still working to identify the people responsible and determine the circumstances surrounding the attack. The death of Bishop Afonso has left many in mourning, and it comes at a particularly troubling time. Only weeks before his death, the bishop had publicly warned about growing violence in northern Mozambique. He spoke openly about the suffering of local communities, and he repeatedly called attention to attacks that were affecting Christians and other civilians. In May, Bishop Afonso described the security situation as increasingly difficult. He said entire communities were living in fear. Families were being displaced, homes were being destroyed, and innocent people were losing their lives. According to the bishop, the violence was having a devastating impact on ordinary citizens. He was especially concerned about women and vulnerable families caught in the conflict. At the time, he urged Catholics around the world to pray for Mozambique. But his concern went beyond prayer alone. Later that same month, during a pastoral visit to a local parish, he again spoke forcefully about the crisis. He called for greater efforts to stop the violence, and he challenged people not to ignore what was happening. The bishop warned that Christians were being killed and churches were being destroyed. He argued that the suffering in northern Mozambique should matter to the entire church. For him, this was not a distant problem affecting only one region. It was a concern for all Catholics. Those comments have now taken on a deeper significance following his death. While authorities have not announced any connection between his public statements and the attack, the timing has drawn attention from many observers. As investigations continue, church leaders are calling for prayer and unity. Archbishop Inácio Sor, who leads the Bishops' Conference of Mozambique, urged Catholics to remain calm and united in faith during this difficult time. He acknowledged that many details are still unknown, and he asked people to wait for verified information as the investigation moves forward. The tragedy has also drawn a response from Pope Leo XIV. The Pope condemned what he described as a serious act of violence. He offered prayers for the people of Mozambique and for the communities affected by the bishop's death. He also prayed that God would bring comfort to those who are grieving and help bring an end to violence. Bishop Afonso had only recently taken on major responsibilities within the church. In 2025, he was appointed bishop of the Diocese of Quelimane. More recently, he was also asked to serve as apostolic administrator of the Archdiocese of Beira following the resignation of its archbishop. Those appointments reflected the trust church leaders had placed in him. Now, many Catholics are remembering him not only as a bishop, but also as a shepherd who was willing to speak openly about the suffering of his people. His death highlights a reality that often receives little attention outside the region. In some parts of Africa, Christians continue to face violence, instability, and persecution. Church leaders often find themselves serving communities living under difficult and dangerous conditions. Bishop Afonso was one of those leaders. He spoke about the fears of his people. He called attention to their struggles, and he urged others not to forget them. As Mozambique mourns his loss, many Catholics are praying not only for justice, but also for peace. Peace for the communities affected by violence. Peace for those who are grieving. And peace for a country that continues to face serious challenges. For now, the investigation continues. But one thing is already clear. Bishop Osório Citora Afonso's final public messages were centered on protecting vulnerable people, defending suffering communities, and calling the world not to ignore their pain. And those messages are now being remembered by many as part of the legacy he leaves behind.